I want to start today by just reading you a scoreline, just the numbers.
Okay.
120 to 66.
That sounds like a typo, doesn't it? Or maybe a college scrimmage from the preseason or something.
Right. But it wasn't. That was a professional basketball game played inside Madison Square Garden last night.
Wow.
The New York Knicks beat the Brooklyn Nets by 54 points. 54. I was looking at the box score, and I honestly thought my app was glitching.
Unfortunately for anyone in a Nets jersey, the app was working fine. The team, however, was not.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we have a massive stack of game reports, locker room audio, and, trade rumors to get through.
A lot to unpack.
Our mission is to make sense of a truly chaotic night in the NBA. We're going to cover the massacre at Madison Square Garden, the absolute implosion happening with the Milwaukee Bucks, and a fascinating silver lining in Memphis with Morant.
It is a perfect storm of storylines today. You have the ugly side of tanking, you have a superstar openly questioning his teammates' character, and you have the NBA trying to slap a rivalry week label on games that looked more like varsity versus JV scrimmages.
Exactly. And we are going to get to the rivalry week branding later because that deserves its own whole segment.
Oh, it does.
But we have to start with the Knicks and the Nets. 120 to 66. Help me wrap my head around this. How does an NBA team only score 66 points in the year 2026?
It's historically inept.
Yeah.
To give you some context,
Yeah.
66 points is the lowest scoring total by any NBA team in the last 9 seasons.
9 seasons.
For the Knicks, this was the largest margin of victory in the history of their franchise, and for the Nets, it was the second worst loss they have ever suffered.
I know the Nets are in a tanking season. We all know the deal. They want the high draft pick. They aren't trying to win a title this year.
Right, it's part of the plan.
But this felt different. This didn't feel like, we are young and learning. This felt like we quit.
You hit the nail on the head. There's a difference between losing because you lack talent and losing because you lack spirit. And if you dig into the advanced stats, the number that screams "we quit" isn't the shooting percentage, though 29% from the field is atrocious.
I mean, that's bad enough.
It's awful.
Yeah.
But the real number is the second chance points.
Look it on me.
0. The Brooklyn Nets had 0 second chance points.
Wait, 0. So in 48 minutes of basketball, with all those missed shots, and there were a lot of missed shots,
So I mean missed shots.
they didn't grab a single offensive rebound and put it back in.
Not one, and that is purely an effort stat. Offensive rebounding is about wanting the ball more than the guy boxing you out. When you have 0, it tells you that the Nets had no interest in the physical toll of the game.
They just didn't want any part of it.
Nope. They settled for jumpers, missed them, and ran back or, jogged back on defense. They only had 20 points in the paint the entire night.
That just paints a really grim picture. And speaking of grim, I need to ask you about the rookies. This season is supposed to be about developing the young guys, right? Trial by fire.
Well, the Fire won. It was more like trial by incineration. The Nets threw 4 rookies into the rotation. Jay Gore, Nolan Traore, Drake Powell, and Danny Wolf. And look, it's hard to be a rookie in this league, but they looked physically overwhelmed.
I saw a clip of Danny Wolf that was, it was kind of tough to watch.
I know exactly the play you're talking about. It was the fast break, right?
It was a 2-on-1, a
So
classic fast break.
Right. So Wolf catches a bounce pass. He has a lane. In the NBA, if you're 7 feet tall in a fast break, you go up strong, you dunk it, maybe you get fouled.
Something aggressive.
Yes, Wolf. He tried this sort of pirouette spinning layup thing to avoid contact.
And he missed it wildly.
He didn't even hit the rim, I don't think. It just highlighted a lack of athletic burst and, frankly, a fear of contact.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have J.A. Core, who is supposed to be a shooter, just getting bullied off his spots. The Knicks defenders were getting under them, bumping them, and the rookies just folded.
So the rookies struggled, but the thing that really confused me was Michael Porter Jr. He is supposed to be the veteran anchor here.
Right.
He's the guy you're showcasing for a trade, right? But he went 4 for 14 and looked totally out of sorts.
This is where the story gets into some murky ethical territory regarding asset management. After the game, MPJ admitted to reporters that he has been dealing with an MCL sprain for weeks.
For weeks.
He apparently heard it back in early January against Orlando.
Hold on. If you are the Brooklyn Nets and your entire goal is to lose games to get a high draft pick, why on earth is your most valuable trade asset playing through a knee sprain?
That is the question every GM in the league is asking today. It makes no sense. Logic says you shut him down, you protect the asset so you can trade him for picks later, and, by sitting him, you ensure you lose more games, which helps your tank.
So why is he playing? What's the thinking?
It could be two things. One, MPJ might be pushing the play because he wants his numbers up. He wants to prove he's an all-star caliber guy.
Okay.
Or two, the Nets are terrified that if they sit him, other teams will think his back issues or other injuries are flaring up, so they are trotting him out there to prove he's healthy.
Which completely backfired because he looked terrible. He couldn't get separation from defenders.
Exactly. He looks slow. So now you've not only risked further injury, but you've also put bad tape out there for other teams to see. It's a lose-lose situation.
We should give the Knicks some credit here, though. I mean, you don't win by 54 points just because the other team is bad. You have to be executing.
Oh, the Knicks were executing. In fact, the report from the first quarter was that they were playing with too much sauce.
Too much sauce.
Yeah. They were so confident that they were overpassing. They were turning down open layups to try and throw behind-the-back passes for corner threes.
Just having fun with it.
They were almost turning it over because they were having too much fun. But once they settled in, it was clinical. They hit 16 threes. They realized the Nets offered zero resistance at the rim, so they just marched into the paint whenever they wanted.
It sounds like a massive confidence booster for New York, a real get-right game.
It absolutely was. They had lost 9 of their last 11 coming into this. They needed a punching bag, and the Nets, they volunteered.
Okay, so the Nets are a disaster, but we kind of expected that. Let's pivot to a situation where the disaster is much more surprising.
Yes.
The Milwaukee Bucks.
This is the story of the night for me.
The Bucks played the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, the Thunder are a great team, we know that, but the Bucks got absolutely run off the floor. They lost 122 to 102. And honestly, looking at the game flow, it didn't even feel that close.
It wasn't. They were down by 20 in the first quarter.
The first quarter, the game was over.
And you cannot overlook the context of who was actually playing for OKC. The Thunder were depleted. No Jalen Williams, no Isaiah Hartenstein, no Alex Caruso.
Wow. That's 4 key rotation players? That's basically their defensive backbone.
Exactly. This wasn't the full-strength juggernaut Thunder. This was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and a bunch of role players. And they still looked like they were playing a different sport than Milwaukee.
So the score is bad. The vibes are bad. The Bucks are now 18-25, sitting 11th in the East. But the real explosion happened in the locker room after the game.
Oh, yeah.
Giannis Antetokounmpo, he had some things to say.
He did not mince words. Usually superstars will say things like, we need to be better, or we need to watch the film. Giannis went straight for the jugular. He called his teammates selfish.
Selfish. That is a loaded word.
It's a word that breaks locker rooms. He said, guys are trying to do it on their own. He said they are hard-headed. And then he dropped this analogy that I think is really important to unpack. He talked about the white swan versus the black swan.
Yeah, I saw that quote, and I was scratching my head a bit. Break that down for me. What is he talking about?
It's a fascinating window into his psychology right now. Essentially, Giannis views the white swan as the graceful player, the guy who plays within the system, sets screens, moves the ball, lets his teammates eat.
The team player.
That's who he wants to be. He wants to trust the system.
Okay. And the black swan?
The black swan is the aggressor, the force of nature, the guy who says, to hell with the system, give me the ball, I'm going to run through 3 people and dunk it. Giannis said that his coaches and even his teammates are telling him he needs to be the black swan.
So they want him to be more selfish.
They need him to bail them out. But here is the kicker. Giannis only took 11 shots in this game.
11 shots in a blowout loss where they couldn't score? That ties his season low.
And that is why this feels like a protest. It feels like he went out there and said, okay, you guys want to play selfish. You want to try to create your own shots and not pass the ball. Go ahead.
See how that works out for you?
I'll stand here and be the white swan. I'll pass. I won't force it.
And the result was they got crushed.
Right. It was a passive-aggressive lesson. He showed them what the team looks like when he doesn't carry them. And it looked awful. Doc Rivers, the coach, admitted afterwards that the team's confidence is up and down, but if you watch the defensive end, it was worse than a lack of confidence.
What were you seeing?
Jogging. Just straight up jogging. The Thunder run a fast-paced offense, and the Bucks players were trotting back on defense. They weren't closing out on shooters. There was a play where Shai drove to the rim, and 3 Bucks defenders just kind of watched him lay it in.
Yikes.
That is a team that has stopped believing in the system.
And we are 2 weeks away from the trade deadline. That is a terrifying place to be. You have your franchise icon calling the roster selfish and hard-headed. You're out of the playoff picture, and you're getting blown out by a shorthanded team.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, The Bucks are in a full-blown crisis. They don't really have the young assets to make a massive trade to fix this. They are old, they are slow, and now they're fighting with each other. Giannis is clearly sending a message to the front office that the status quo is unacceptable.
It feels like a ticking clock, doesn't it? Fix this or I'm gone.
It feels exactly like that.
All right, let's try to find a little bit of positivity here. We've talked about two disasters. So let's talk about a loss that actually felt kind of encouraging.
A moral victory, maybe?
Maybe. The Memphis Grizzlies lost at the Hawks, but the headline wasn't the score. It was Morant.
Finally, a silver lining. Yes, the Grizzlies lost, but Morant looked like Morant again. And I don't just mean the stats, though he had 23 points and 12 assists. That's a great line.
It was the way he moved, right. We've heard so much chatter about, is the athleticism back? Does he still have that burst?
He answered that emphatically. He was violent at the rim. He went 8 for 8 from the free throw line, which tells you he was seeking out contact, not avoiding it. But what really stood out to me was the defense.
The blocks.
The blocks were incredible. He had 3 blocks in this game. 2 of them were described in the reports as show-stealing.
Chase down block.
I'm talking about chase-down blocks, meeting guys at the summit. You don't make those plays if you're checking out. You don't risk your body like that if you don't care.
That's a great point. And this comes at such a weird time for Memphis because, just like Milwaukee, they are staring down the trade deadline.
Right.
The rumor mill is churning. Reports are saying a trade involving the Grizzlies is more likely than not in the next 2 weeks.
That is the dilemma Memphis faces. When you see Ja play like this, totally engaged, explosive, leading the team, do you think, we could build around this guy, we just need to retool? Or do you think, wow, his trade value just went up, let's cash in?
It's the ultimate audition tape versus franchise cornerstone debate.
It is. If you're a team looking to trade for a superstar, this game proved that Ja isn't damaged goods. He's not checked out. But if you're the Grizzlies, maybe this game reminded you of what you have.
It's interesting to contrast him with Jaren Jackson Jr. in this same game.
Yeah.
If Ja was the bright spot, JJJ was a bit dimmer.
A lot dimmer.
Yeah.
He'd struggled with foul trouble. He had turnovers. He just looked stagnant. There are rumors linking him to the Knicks,
Go
actually.
ahead.
But watching them side by side, Ja looked like the alpha. He looked like the guy trying to drag his team to a win while Jaren was just kind of floating.
So Ja raises his stock, whether that's for Memphis or for a trade partner. But let's zoom out for our final topic today. All of these games, Knicks Nets, Bucks Thunder, even Grizzlies Hawks, happened under this banner of Rivalry Week.
Ah, yes. Rivalry week.
Have to be honest, I watched these games, I looked for the rivalry, I did not see it.
It was a joke. I mean, let's be real. The NBA marketing department loves these themes. But you cannot manufacture hatred. You cannot manufacture a rivalry when the product on the floor is this lopsided.
Take Knicks Nets. Okay, they are both in New York. There's the whole Battle of the Boroughs thing. But is it a rivalry?
How can it be a rivalry when one team dominates the other this thoroughly? The expert insight here is the history. The Nets have now lost 13 straight games to the Knicks.
13.
13. That is not a rivalry. That is ownership. That is a hammer versus a nail. A rivalry requires pushback. Requires the other team to win sometimes. It requires some bad blood.
Some real history.
And when the Nets showed up to Madison Square Garden, they didn't play with pride. They didn't push back physically. They just rolled over.
It felt more like bullying week than rivalry week.
Exactly. When you have a 54-point margin of victory, that's a varsity team playing a JV squad. And even with the Bucks and Thunder, sure, maybe there is some theoretical rivalry about small markets or whatever, but when one team is down 20 in the first quarter and jogging, the oar goes out of the balloon immediately.
It feels like the NBA is trying to sell us narratives that the players just aren't buying into.
The players don't care about the marketing calendar. If you're tanking, you're tanking. If your locker room is broken, you're not going to fix it just because it's rivalry week. The reality of the league, the tanking, the dysfunction, completely exposed the marketing gimmick this week.
So let's recap this wild 24 hours. The Knicks are flying high after historically dismantling a lifeless Nets team. Morant is proving he's still a superstar, even if the Grizzlies are losing. And Giannis Antetokounmpo is essentially at war with his own team's culture in Milwaukee.
It really is a snapshot of the league right now. You have the haves, the have-nots, and the have-nots who are imploding.
It sets the stage for a very, very dramatic trade deadline. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a thought about that situation in Milwaukee.
What's on your mind?
We know Giannis is smart. He knows exactly how his words land in the media. When a superstar of his caliber publicly calls his teammates selfish and hard-headed just 2 weeks before the deadline.
How do you interpret that? Is that a desperate attempt at leadership to shock them into playing harder? Or is that the first step of an exit strategy? That is the question that is going to define the rest of this NBA season.
Thank you for listening. Please comment, like, subscribe if you're on YouTube. Spotify, please leave 5-star review. It'll help the channel grow. Until next time, please check our previous episodes.